Shuv shebepara. The first word in the line is hashuv. It's about 6 lines before Eisvav.
Okay.
Towards the bottom of the
Hashuv,
page.
okay.
What we learned in this ice on Friday was that there's 2 types of Ratzi V'shuvs. There's a Ratzi V'shuv of Maamar Kalaman, and there's a Ratzi V'shuv of Saiviv Kalaman, and they're not the same.
Very good.
Not the same Ratzi V'shuv. The Ratzi V'shuv of Maamar Kalaman, even the Ratzoi is limited. He has a yearning to return, but to return to where? To return to the source of Mamala, which recognizes that he exists, that allows for his existence. So the Ratzoi is sort of an incomplete Ratzoi. At the same time, the Shuv is more powerful. The Shuv of Mamala is a kind of Shuv where he gets absorbed in the Keli, where the Metzias exists. On the other hand, the Ratzoi and Shuv of Seiviv is the exact opposite. The Ratzoi of Seiviv is where he's ready to leave his Metzias entirely, completely to lose his whole Metzias. Like what Seiviv is? What Seiviv says is that the whole Metzias of all the Madregas, of everything that exists in the world, is non-existent. So the Ratzoi of Seiviv is to totally become Batal Metzias. The Shuv of Seiviv it's an incomplete Shuv, because there the Shuv does not allow for the existence, even the Shuv does not allow for a full existence of the Kalim of the Metzias of the world. So now, the Rebbe concludes with the Ratzi V'shuv of Para Aduma in contrast to all other mitzvahs. We're towards the bottom of page Nun Dalet. This explains what's unique about the Ratzi V'shuv of Para Aduma. Shehula Maila Ma Ratzi V'shuv the Shar Kol HaMitzvahs. It's above the Ratzi V'shuv of all other mitzvahs. The Ratzi V'shuv here by Para Aduma is related to Seiviv Kalaman. Shalachain, therefore, Shtei Yatnu is the Ratzi V'shuv Hem Ba'ise Inyan the Eife Para. They are both expressed in the ashes that's used by the Para Aduma. Shehu Inyan Ha'efer U'Mayim Chayim Shneim Yachtav. You have the Ratzoi, which is hinted in the ashes, the fire, and the water, and they're both mixed together. Sharei inyan atarem, the purity that you achieve through the paraduma, einay nasai dea eifel avadoi, is not through the ashes of the paraduma alone. V'lo yalidea mayim chayim lovadom, and not through the water separately either. Ki imay de shneim yachad dafke. You have to have a combination of both together, the Ratziv and Shuv together. She'inyan zeh hu mibchina seiviv kol alman dafke. To have the combination of the two together, the Ratzoi and the Shuv both together, is specifically from Seiviv Kalaman and not by the Ratzoi V'shuv of Maamar Kalaman. So the question that we asked in the beginning of the Maamar is, why does it say twice Havaya? Vaydaber Havaya and Ashetziva Havaya. The first time it says Havaya, it refers to Havaya de Lasata, which is also Havaya de Seder Shtalshalos. The level of Havaya involved with creation, P'chinas Maamar Kalaman, the level of Havaya that is also Havaya's Melosha Mahava, which is that level of Elokos that creates and gives the energy for the world to exist. Shemisham hu adibru l'Moshe v'Aaron. This is always the source of the Eibishter speaking to Moshe and Aaron. And then when the pasuk adds a second time and says Ashetziva Havaya Koi al Shem Havaya de Leilo, this refers to a higher level of Havaya which is removed of creation, Havaya de Atik. Havaya of Atik, which is the pneumius of Keser. The word Atik means completely removed of creation. Shalamayla miseder shtalshalos shesham ein esinis makim lemetzias shal zulas klal. So there, when it comes to Havaya of Atik, there's no room, there's no space for anything to exist outside of Hashem's reality. The source of Paraduma comes from the higher level of Havaya. So unlike all other mitzvahs, where the Torah says Havaya once, because all other mitzvahs, although they have a high shadish, but they go through a hislapshus and say they're ishtalshalos, and that's how it's communicated to us. Here the Torah adds a second time Havaya to make it clear that this mitzvah is coming directly from Havaya Da'atik. This is another reason why it's called Chukka Satayra. So earlier in the Maamar, the Rebbe said, what's the taich of the word Chukka? There's the simple taich of Chukka. The word Chukka means the laws, the mitzvah. Earlier in the Maamar, the Rebbe brought the pshat of Chukka is the behavior or the functions, just like it says, Chukka is Shamayim va'aretz, the functions of heaven and earth. So you have the functions of Torah, that all of Torah is functions in a manner of Rotzi and Shuv. Here the Rebbe teaches a third pshat, that Chukka hu maloshen chakika. The word Chukka is also related to chakika, that it's engraved. It's well known that there's a difference between engraving letters on a stone or any surface and writing something with ink on paper. When you're writing with a pen, with an ink on paper, the ink, the paper are two separate entities. On the paper, the ink is connected, becomes one with the paper by writing it and placing the ink on the paper. The Hakika is not bringing a different material, a different thing to connect to the stone that you are engraving on. It's part of the stone itself. So over here, the term Hakika is used regarding Paraduma to indicate the fact that it comes from a higher level than the rest of Torah. Paraduma, the source of Paraduma is from Avaya of Atik. She'ein shom nesimis makam lezulas klal. There, it gives no space, doesn't recognize any other existence other than the Eibishter himself. Like the concept of Hakika, it doesn't recognize any other existence other than one entity. There's the stone, and whatever is there is part of the existence of the stone itself. There isn't a combination of two entities. This explains also what it says in the Medrash. Kivin shehigia Moshe, the parshas tumas meis. When Moshe Rabbeinu came to the parsha, where the Eibishter tells him that a yid that touches a dead body becomes a tomei, like a dead person. Amalei Moshe lakadosh baruch hu. So Moshe says to the Eibishter, Rebbeinu shaleilam, im nitmazeh, if this person becomes tomei to such a degree, bamete tarasei, how is it possible to purify him? Lo yeshivai. So the Eibishter did not immediately answer him. This is a level of Tumah, as it's called usually in Chazal, the Avi Avais HaTumah, the highest and most powerful level of Tumah, where a person is completely disconnected of any chayis, of any ruchnius, of any connection. So if someone is disconnected to this degree, is there any chance for him to reconnect? Is there any tara for him? So at that point, when Moshe didn't hear an immediate response, Moshe Rabbeinu's face turned colors. Skarkamu literally means like charcoal. His face turned sort of black, like charcoal. Then finally, when Moshe Rabbeinu heard the parsha of Paraduma, so the Eibishter tells him, Zu taharase. Here's the answer to your question. This is how you elevate and purify a person that's tomei on this level. You take from the afar sreifes achatos, the ashes of the chatos, you mix it in the water and you sprinkle it on him, and this brings the tara. So what's the pshat of this medrash? The fact that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he heard this level of tumah, was so shocked that a yid could be on such a level. So what are we going to do with him? How can we reconnect him? The reason is by any of the other levels of tumah, because it's not an absolute tumah, there's some level of life connection still there. There's a tumah, but at the same time, it's not a full tumah. There's still connection. Tumas meis, which is the highest level of tumah, ve'ein b'chayis klal. What that implies, spiritually speaking, is that this is an individual that has no chayis left to him. Tama Moshe b'mete tarasai. Here, Moshe Rabbeinu wondered, how are we going to reconnect this individual? Kimitzat seder ha'ishtalshalus. Looking at things from the way they are in seder ishtalshalus, ein efsharos l'tar tumah kazu. It's impossible to bring purity to such a place which is so disconnected. No, however, so what's the power of paraduma? Since paraduma is from Havayda Leila, and therefore it comes from a place which is engraved within the reality of Hashem Himself, where it doesn't recognize any other existence other than the Eibishter Himself. So therefore the power of the paraduma to reach even the person that's in the lowest place, there's no limitation to the reach of the paraduma. And it's able to reach and elevate and purify even a person that's at Meimes. So this also explains what Shlomo Melech says. I said that with my wisdom I could understand and reach the level of paraduma, but it turns out that I can't reach it. It's too distant from me. Paraduma is higher, has a higher shayrish than the rest of mitzvahs, from Seiv Kolam and Chakika, and that's a place that even Shlomo Melech, with his greatest chachma, can't reach there. Applying all of this to a person's aveda, the pasuk says, you should love Hashem, there are three levels of the love that a yid has for Hashem. The first level, the beginning is b'chol avavcha. The hagam shehu ratzui shalom. Even b'chol avavcha is already a pretty good level. Person is loving Hashem with all of his heart. B'chol avavcha ratzui shalom b'chol libay. The full yearning, a pure and full desire to the Eibishter. As we know, b'chol avavcha means b'shnei yitzarecha. The desire, the yearning to Hashem is with both inclinations in the heart, the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. Kol Makom, however, B'chol Avavcha is only the first level. Hu lo yosem mimasha alev meichel. This is a love that is not more than what the heart could contain. As much as the feelings of the person's heart, both the feelings of the Nefesh Elokis, the natural feeling of the Neshama, and including the feelings of the Nefesh Bahamis, where a person introduces that love for Hashem even to his Nefesh Bahamis. He persuades the Nefesh Bahamis that he should also understand that the best and the greatest and the goodness of the world is the Eibishter. But that's only as much as his heart could handle. Rak b'kli alev v'lo yoser. As much as his heart, the emotions of his heart could handle to love Hashem. That's the level of B'chol Avavcha. And above this, the Rebbe skips B'chol Nafshecha. When a person loves the Eibishter with all his might, the idea here is that a person's love for Hashem leaves all boundaries, higher than any limitation. Not what the person could handle, but a person is ready to do things opposite his nature, and he does things out of his bounds. So over here, when the pasuk says "Vayedaber Avaya," the first time Avaya should say that Avaya u'matal amayla, a person connecting to Hashem goes from below to above. Shebetchila, the first stage is tzarich liyas Avaya mitzad Avaya l'sata. A person has to work on creating a connection to Hashem that's based on Avaya l'sata, which is Avaya b'agbala, the seder hashtalshalos, to come to recognize Hashem's existence within the world, to recognize Hashem's influence and connection to Him that's within Mamalak Almin. Shehu Aratze V'Shov, the beginning of Mamalak Almin. To begin, to start, the starting point is the person should have that connection on the level of Mamalak Almin. It's limited. It's only a connection to the Eibishter which is within the world, but that's the beginning. The first level a person has to find and discover a lukus here in the existence of this world. This is also the meaning of what the Gemara says. Mei ikara. In the beginning, when a person is starting out, whatever it may be, the Gemara there, I believe, is talking about learning Torah. In the beginning, when a person starts and he has a shir in Torah, what should be his motivation? What should get the person to learn? Ki avid inish, what a person is doing, adaita the nafshei ka'avid. He has to think about, what am I gaining from this? Even though that's not the ultimate purpose. When a person learns Torah, when a person does a mitzvah, what should he be thinking about? What am I going to gain out of this? He should be thinking about, what does the Eibishter want from me? What is the Eibishter commanding of me to do now? I'm a servant of Hashem. Why should he be thinking about himself? But that's not the kind of motivation that a person should be thinking about in the beginning. In the beginning, when a person is starting out, a person is naturally selfish, And you have to have also a selfish motivation. What am I gaining out of this? That's the meikara in the beginning. In order for a person should think to himself that in order for me to elevate my soul, in order for me to become more connected, more spiritual, in tune, and so on, so I'm going to learn Torah, I'm going to do a mitzvah, so I'm going to awaken the Ratzi V'Shuv in myself. That's the first thing a person should think about. And the Rebbe adds, but this is al yidei akdamas in a Kabbalah Soil. You always have to have the foundation of Kabbalah Soil. As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the basis of everything has to start with accepting the yoke of heaven, Kabbalah Soil. So a person has the basis, the foundation of Kabbalah Soil, but when his actual Aveda, his motivation to get out of bed, his motivation to be active and to do what he's supposed to, what's Meikara, what's the beginning, what's the starting point? I'm doing it for my own sake. I'm doing it for the sake of my neshama, because I feel like I gain out of this. It gets me more spiritually involved. That's the beginning. That's the Vayedaber Avaya. So the fact that the Torah says Vayedaber Avaya twice, so according to what we learned before, it would seem like the Torah is writing the first time Avaya to get to the second Avaya. The main point is to say that Para Aduma is Havaya de Le'ela. It's a higher Avaya. Now the Rebbe is adding, no. It's writing the first time Avaya, not only to imply that the second Avaya is higher, but it's actually two stages that are two necessary stages. There is the first stage of Aveda, the first Vayedaber Avaya. Vayedaber Avaya is one communication, and it's one message, that the beginning of a person's Aveda has to be where a person is thinking of what am I going to gain from this, what is my neshama going to gain from this. That's the level of Avaya de Lasata, which recognizes your existence, and therefore your Aveda is characterized by you thinking of what am I, what is my existence going to gain from this.
Is that the same as this?
Yes, Meikara in the beginning. The first level of Aveda is when a person is thinking about his neshama. What am I going to gain from this? But then following that, then comes the second Avaya, Havaya de Le'ela. What's the second Avaya? Shehu inyan haratzi v'shuv the Soiviv Kolalman. There is the Ratzui and Shuv of Soiviv Kolalman. This is already a completely different kind of level of Ratzui. Sheyaytze Megedda Hakbala Lekamri, where a person is ready to completely leave all of his limitations. K'mayim Rabbeinu Azakin, as a statement of the Alter Rebbe, Mili Bashamayim V'imcha Lechafatzti Ba'aretz. The famous statement that the Alter Rebbe was accustomed to saying, who do I have with you in the heavens, and along with you I desire nothing. The Alter Rebbe says, I have no desire for any spiritual level, for any spiritual gain, and so on. Ich will ze gar nicht. I want none of it. Ich will nicht dein Gan Eden. I don't want your Gan Eden. Ich will nicht dein Elam Haba chulu. I don't desire your Elam Haba. Ich will mehr nicht as dich allein. All I want is just the Eibishter himself. Sheine Reitze begiluyim chulu. He has absolutely no interest. He's not satisfied by any level of revelation. This is the Ratzi V'Shuv of Soiviv Kolalman, where all the person desires is to be with the essence of the Eibishter himself, which is the inyan of Para Aduma. This Vart of the Alter Rebbe is brought in Sefer HaMitzvahs. There's Mitzayin on the bottom. The Tzemach Tzedek writes that the Alter Rebbe married the Hagirogel Loima, that Alter Rebbe was accustomed. This was something that he would say often. But the interesting thing is, besides the fact that it's recorded in Sefer HaMitzvahs and Derech Mitzvah, there's no, if I'm not mistaken, there's no other place in Chassidus that it's brought b'chlal. Not in none of the Maamarim of the Rabbeim. The one that made it famous and the one that started quoting this very often, starting from the beginning of the Nesius, right over here. This is in Chodesh Adar, right in the beginning of the Nesius, is the Rebbe. Every so often the Rebbe would say that the Alter Rebbe was margel of Pume to say, Ich will sei garnish, ich will nicht dein Gan Eden. So the one that it was margel of Pume to say every so often, this Ich will sei garnish was the Rebbe. Like the Chatchila Rebbe, a statement that the Rebbe Marash said that is recorded in one letter of the Friediger Rebbe, and we don't, no one else knows of any other source besides one place, and the Rebbe made it famous and constantly quoted it, right? Same thing with this Vart. This is the Vart that the Rebbe kocht sich in very often throughout the years. So this also explains Masha Kairim Parshas Para Lefnei Parshas HaChodesh. Parshas Para is always the Shabbos before Parshas HaChodesh, and the halacha is that there's no interruption between Para and HaChodesh. Between Shkolim and Zacher, there could be an interruption. Could be a hefsek. But between para and a chaydish, there's no hefsek. So it goes direct. Haratzi v'shuv. Sorry, 1 second. The idea avoided the para aduma. Because from the avodah of para aduma, which is what? Haratzi v'shuv the seiv of kalama. The deepest desire of the neshama. The desire of the neshama on a level of seiv. Shubayfun shal yitziyim beged akbala. This is the neshama leaving its limitations altogether. Azay nasa gilu yatzmus. When the neshama serves Hashem in such a manner, when it's ready to completely leave all of its limitations, that's what brings as a result a revelation of the essence of Hashem Himself. That's the revelation of the Gula. Parshas HaChodesh, HaGula Shleima Shetiyeh B'Meheira V'Yameinu.
It's interesting that Parshas Parah